Word for you today. I have a new quarter of the devotion. So if you don't have the new one, it's for September, October, and November. If you don't have it, stop by the church and get one, or let us know, and we'll be happy to make sure that you get one. Songs of Deliverance, Part 2. Yesterday they started with Part 1. Scripture passage is in Acts chapter 16, verse 25. It says, about midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, and the other prisoners were listening to them. Paul and Silas were sharing the message of Christ, and they came across a slave girl who could predict the future by an evil spirit. She heard them preaching, and one thing led to another, and they ended up casting this evil spirit out of her. Well, that made her owners, people who said they owned her, made them very angry because now they couldn't make a profit off of her. And so they grabbed Paul and Silas. They got the officials of the community, and they brought Paul and Silas before these people. Paul and Silas were beaten. They were imprisoned. And all this was illegal because Paul and Silas were Roman citizens. And that wasn't supposed to happen to Roman citizens. But in their emotion, their anger, they went ahead and did that. So here's Paul and Silas. They've been given the message of Christ. They find themselves beaten, so they're physically hurting. And they find themselves in a dungeon, chained to these walls. And they're suffering. How do you suffer? How do you respond when you're suffering? When I do something, I'm doing good for God and I'm suffering. Man, I'm a lot of times I whine. God, here, I'm serving you. I'm doing good. God, what's going on here? How come these bad things are happening? Well, how did Paul and Silas respond? Well, they responded by praying and singing. What caused them to respond in such a positive way to such negative things? Well, it was their faith in God. As they were suffering, they simply called out to God, and they called out to him. They were grateful to him. And it just led to praising him. It led to praying to him. It led to singing. And then other people heard him. It was midnight. They probably, because of their pain and being chained to these walls, they probably couldn't sleep. So what are they doing? They start praying. I'm sure they were praying out loud and singing hymns to God. And here's the thing. The other prisoners heard them, and I bet the guards heard them as well. So when we suffer, people are watching to see how we respond to the suffering. The next time you find yourself suffering, pray. Pray and ask God to give you strength. But also, when you pray, think about those things you have to be grateful for. And when we see the number of things we have to be grateful for, sometimes our suffering doesn't seem as bad. And then sing praises to him. Sing some of your favorite songs. They may be hymns, they may be praise songs, but sing some of your favorite songs to God. And what it does is it just takes our suffering out of our mind. We take control of what we're thinking about, and it goes towards praising God, and it changes our attitude. There was a man named Ira Sankey. He was a song leader for D.L. Moody. And in the Civil War, in the American Civil War, he would sing oftentimes to bring encouragement to men who were suffering, to men who were hurting. And one night, he thought he was all alone. And he was just simply praising God. And he was singing. Years later, after the war had ended, he was on a ship going across the Atlantic Ocean. And since he was now a famous singer, lots of people were asking him to sing. And he was singing some songs. And he sang this one particular song, and then a man came up to him afterwards and said, hey, he said, were you on so it's such and such a place singing that song one night? And so I was thinking, yes, I was. The guy said, well, I was enemy on the other side, and I had a rifle aimed right at you, and I was ready to shoot you. But you started singing that, and I was enjoying it so much that I thought, well, I'll shoot him after he gets done singing. And He said, but after you got done singing, my sights were on you, but I was powerless. I couldn't shoot you. I don't know what it was, but I couldn't shoot you. Ira Sankey told that man about Christ. He led him to the Lord. And you never know. You never know what you're singing, what you're praying, what that's going to do to people. Ira Sankey had no idea that somebody was listening that night. This man actually was going to take his life. And he didn't. God will work. God will work in your praying. God will work in your singing. Even when you think you're all alone, God will work. So, songs of deliverance. Sometimes those songs that we sing deliver us from feeling bad about our situation. And sometimes those songs will deliver somebody else from their lack of faith in Jesus. So today, let me ask you, if you had to sing a song to encourage you, what song would you sing? Now, some of us have to be all alone when we sing because our singing is not very good. But you know what? God still loves it. So I want to encourage you to get by yourself. If you're a good singer, fine, sing in front of everybody. But if you're like me, find this place all alone. And would you just sing a song of praise to God? And just let Him do with that song whatever He wants to do. Have a good day.